Who is Oscar Wilde? Oscar Fingal O'Flaherty Wills Wilde, born on 16 October 1854 and died on 30 November 1900, was an Irish poet and playwright. After writing in different forms throughout the 1880s, he became one of the most popular playwrights in London in the early 1890s. He is best remembered for his epigrams and plays, his novel The Picture of Dorian Gray, and his criminal conviction for gross indecency for homosexual acts. Wilde's parents were Anglo-Irish intellectuals in Dublin. In his youth, Wilde learned to speak fluent French and German. At university, he read greats. He demonstrated himself to be an exceptional classicist, first at Trinity College Dublin, then at Magdalen College, Oxford. He became associated with the emerging philosophy of aestheticism, led by two of his tutors, Walter Pater and John Ruskin. After university, Wilde moved to London into fashionable cultural and social circles. He tried his hand at various literary activities. He wrote a play, published a book of poems, lectured in the United States and Canada on the New English Renaissance in art and interior decoration, and then returned to London where he lectured on his American travels and wrote reviews for various periodicals. Known for his biting wit, flamboyant dress and glittering conversational skill, Wilde became one of the best-known personalities of his day. At the turn of the 1890s, he refined his ideas about the supremacy of art in a series of dialogues and essays, and incorporated themes of decadence, duplicity, and beauty into what would be his only novel, The Picture of Dorian Gray, 1890. Wilde returned to the drama, writing Salome, 1891, in French while in Paris, but it was refused a license for England due to an absolute prohibition on the portrayal of biblical subjects on the English stage. Undiscouraged, Wilde produced 4 society comedies in the early 1890s, which made him one of the most successful playwrights of late Victorian London. At the height of his fame and success, while An Ideal Husband, 1895, and The Importance of Being Earnest, 1895, were still being performed in London, Wilde issued a civil writ against John Sholto Douglas, the 9th Marquess of Queensberry, for criminal libel. The Marquess was the father of Wilde's lover, Lord Alfred Douglas. The libel hearings unearthed evidence that caused Wilde to drop his charges and led to his own arrest and criminal prosecution for gross indecency with men. The jury was unable to reach a verdict and so a retrial was ordered. In the second trial, Wilde was convicted and sentenced to 2 years hard labor, the maximum penalty, and was jailed from 1895 to 1897. During his last year in prison he wrote De Profundis, published posthumously in abridged form in 1905, a long letter that discusses his spiritual journey through his trials and is a dark counterpoint to his earlier philosophy of pleasure. On the day of his release he caught the overnight steamer to France, never to return to Britain or Ireland. In France and Italy he wrote his last work, The Ballad of Reading Gaol, 1898, a long poem commemorating the harsh rhythms of prison life. Top 50 quotes by Oscar Wilde. Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. To live is the rarest thing in the world. Most people exist, that is all. Always forgive your enemies. Nothing annoys them so much. I am so clever that sometimes I don't understand a single word of what I am saying. We are all in the gutter, but some of us are looking at the stars. If one cannot enjoy reading a book over and over again, there is no use in reading it at all. It is what you read when you don't have to that determines what you will be when you can't help it. The books that the world calls immoral are books that show the world its own shame. The truth is rarely pure and never simple. Yes, I am a dreamer. For a dreamer is one who can only find his way by moonlight, and his punishment is that he sees the dawn before the rest of the world. You can never be overdressed or overeducated. Never love anyone who treats you like you're ordinary. Most people are other people. Their thoughts are someone else's opinions, their lives a mimicry, their passions a quotation. You will always be fond of me. I represent to you all the sins you never had the courage to commit. A good friend will always stab you in the front. Women are meant to be loved, not to be understood. I don't want to go to heaven. None of my friends are there. Anyone who lives within their means suffers from a lack of imagination. Every saint has a past, and every sinner has a future. Experience is merely the name men gave to their mistakes. I am not young enough to know everything. A thing is not necessarily true because a man dies for it. Hearts are made to be broken. You don't love someone for their looks, or their clothes, or for their fancy car, but because they sing a song only you can hear. Those who find ugly meanings in beautiful things are corrupt without being charming. This is a fault. Those who find beautiful meanings in beautiful things are the cultivated. For these there is hope. They are the elect to whom beautiful things mean only beauty. There is no such thing as a moral or an immoral book. Books are well written, or badly written. That is all. The very essence of romance is uncertainty. Everything in the world is about sex except sex. Sex is about power. Man is least himself when he talks in his own person. Give him a mask, and he will tell you the truth. I think God, in creating man, somewhat overestimated his ability. I never travel without my diary. One should always have something sensational to read in the train. With freedom, flowers, books, and the moon, who could not be perfectly happy? Death must be so beautiful. To lie in the soft brown earth, with the grasses waving above one's head, and listen to silence. To have no yesterday, and no tomorrow. To forget time, to forgive life, to be at peace. To define is to limit. Some cause happiness wherever they go. Others whenever they go. Nowadays people know the price of everything and the value of nothing. I don't want to be at the mercy of my emotions. I want to use them, to enjoy them, and to dominate them. Education is an admirable thing, but it is well to remember from time to time that nothing that is worth knowing can be taught. I can resist anything except temptation. A cynic is a man who knows the price of everything, and the value of nothing. All women become like their mothers. That is their tragedy. No man does, and that is his. The only way to get rid of temptation is to yield to it. Behind every exquisite thing that existed, there was something tragic. I am too fond of reading books to care to write them. There is only one thing in the world worse than being talked about, and that is not being talked about. To love oneself is the beginning of a lifelong romance. It is absurd to divide people into good and bad. People are either charming or tedious. Children begin by loving their parents. As they grow older they judge them. Sometimes they forgive them. Quotation is a serviceable substitute for wit. Who, being loved, is poor? Crying is for plain women. Pretty women go shopping. I have the simplest tastes. I am always satisfied with the best.